Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Nigeria Now. This is Equa Television International, and today I have Joyce Jakada with me in the studio, and she's looking so beautiful. Jakada, how are you this beautiful Monday?
Like you said, I'm beautiful. A pleasant afternoon to you and to our viewers out there.
Yeah, Nigeria Now, we want to x-ray whatever is happening in the country. But today we want to just appreciate the government on certain things that they are doing, which is right, like the reversal of
the increment on calls, data by the telecommunication companies. I think that is applaudable because like I was trying to subscribe and I saw that the price changed. Like as at early last week, you will see that there's addition on data and on calls and then messages, but then this week, as at today, when I tried, as at yesterday, when I tried subscribing, I noticed that there was a reversal, like back to the normal price, and I think it is applaudable. That's what governance is all about, that the people should be at the center of everything, and we applaud the federal government for putting the people at the center of it. Recall they told them to reverse the increment, and I think it was done immediately. It is applaudable.
Yeah, I think government that listen to the plight of the masses, you know, is a government that really listen, and we expect to see more of this, you know, happening in this country because we have so many things that are really eating the masses up, you know, like the issue of subsidy, for instance, you know, fuel subsidy. It's something that, if you remember, Joyce, it has been there for long. And I think this particular regime, you know, used that against the PDP government then, and they campaigned really hard. You know, I remember so many time that they called up for the country shut down, went out for mass protests, you know, and they told us that one thing they understand is that subsidy is another systematic way of corruption that they say once they are in there, they are going to deal with that. And then today we are talking like this government has spent almost 10 trillion on subsidy. And you ask yourself, are we still subsidizing fuel after all those promises during the campaign that year? Because I remember 2015, that was when President Muhammadu Buhari campaigned seriously against the issue of fuel subsidy, and he promised to bring down the dollar, he promised to bring down the pump price, you know, and he promised to scrap, because he said then that the elite are using that to siphon phone for themselves. That subsidy regime is not for the masses, but rather the rich are just, the elite are just using that to enrich themselves. And still today we are talking subsidy.
Sambo Sulumo, if you ask me what government is all about, governance, I will tell you that in simple definition, it's supposed to be about the people. And that's why we talk about democracy being government of the people, by the people, and then for the people. But when you begin to see government making policies or decisions that only favor few individuals out of the detriment of the majority, then that becomes worrisome and a thing of concern. Recall saying that Section 14 of the Nigerian Constitution say that a responsible government, the primary responsibility of the government is the welfare of the people and ensuring security of even lives and property. But again, when you begin to see policies that will not favor the masses or the people, then you know that you can't say that that is democracy. And if we're talking about fuel subsidy, the situation is really worrisome, because now the federal government subsidy spending is to hit 11 trillion in 2023. And that's to tell you that so far from 2015 to this time, we have already spent about 6.88 trillion naira. And let me tell you something, that is not just enough. You begin to think of the detriment to other sector of the economy. And that is why I said it is worrisome. This is a government that came into power, like you said, campaigning that against this fuel subsidy, talking about how some few individuals are making billions out of this. And so there's no, in fact, they deny anything subsidy. They said there was nothing like subsidy. But from the report we got from NNPC and NAITI, we have seen how that from 2015 down to 2021, even 2022, there has been a fuel subsidy. And that's why we're seeing that it might even hit 11 trillion from the projection. This is not a report from you or myself or from Equa Television, but from NNPC and also NAITI. I want to give you the breakdown, Sambo Solomon. NAITI said that as at 2015, we spent 316.7 billion naira on subsidy. As at 2016, 99 billion naira was spent on subsidy. And as at 2017, 141.63 billion naira was spent on subsidy. And as at 2018, 722.3 billion naira was spent on subsidy. 2019, we had 578.07 billion naira. And then in 2020, we had 134 billion naira. Sambo Solomon, from 134 billion naira in 2020, NNPC are telling us that as of 2021, 1.43 trillion naira was spent on fuel subsidy. How did this price just skyrocket? Like, you begin to ask this question. Between January to August of 2022, we're talking about 2.565 trillion naira. Even during Goodluck Jonathan's time, where we had this petrol sold at 140, we didn't spend 1.4 trillion naira on subsidy. Then why is it that now that it's between 100 naira, we're now seeing that we are spending 1.4 trillion naira? There's something wrong at the detriment of education, at the detriment of health, at the detriment of our dilapidated roads, at the detriment of dilapidated schools. Imagine that if these monies were channeled to this sector, how much is even ASU asking for? About 1 trillion naira. Imagine that they've been on strike for 8 months because of like less than 1 trillion naira, about 1 trillion naira. And we are spending this humongous amount of money on subsidy at the detriment of other sectors. Imagine that if this money is being channeled to other sectors, I think life will be better. But the big question is, why did this money skyrocket like within 1 year?
1 year.
Like, who is stealing what? That should be the question. When, like, I continue to say that the bane of our national development is corruption. Because as a nation, I think we have enough to meet everybody's needs. But the greed of few individuals has kept us where we are today. You talk about poverty, we are the capital. When you come to out-of-school children, we are topping. Unemployment, hunger, we are topping. And yet we keep bringing out money as if they are just numbers that meant nothing. How do you even expect to generate tax? We saw how the Minister of Finance is saying that like tax is not incoming. Is it the poor people, the 33% of people living in poverty that's supposed to be paying tax when they are not gainfully employed, when they don't even have a conducive environment for them to do business and thrive? Is it the SMEs that will just tell you there's no even electricity? How do you expect them to even thrive in their businesses and even pay tax? Where do we expect revenues to come from when we are having like majority of our people in the rural area not even having a good life? I think this should be checkmated. This should be investigated. This is an administration that came in with the corruption fight. Then we should begin to see something being done about this. A lot of time we've seen on news how monies that were looted were recovered. What happened to them? Do we have record of them? We have some government agencies that are yet to even give account or audit report of all the things they've been doing. I think if we follow up on all this, recover, loot, and not reloot them, we're going to improve some of these our sectors.
And you talk about recovering funds and then using them appropriately. I don't think this regime, is really ready for that, because I look at it, it's just like sometimes it gives me the feeling that some of this issue of corruption is just It's just a systematic way that the elite have carved for themselves, that any government that comes will just turn her face, looking the other side. Because if you look at the issue of oil theft, it is something that this government, just of a recent, an alarm has been raised, and then people are really talking about this. Just look at the two discovery. In a month, you remember the amount we are losing, almost $1 trillion, like some little fraction. That is just from just one discovery. And then this thing has been going, as based on their report, like 9 years. But it's more than that. This thing has been going for over 22 years. Crude oil will leave this country, shores of Nigeria, and then get to our destination. And then you tell me that we have navy in this country.
Solomon, let me draw your attention to the fact that an average man or a poor man cannot own a ship, talk more of bringing it into the country and even loading it. Before a ship comes into a country, it must be registered by the Navy. And then after being registered, it will load for days. You brought about the issue of the oil theft, and that's why I'm making this comment. It's not possible that these ships will load for like 12 days, and then nobody is saying is aware of it.
What's happening there, yes.
750,000 barrel per day. That's what we are losing.
Yes.
No, this is uncalled for. I think a lot needs to be done.
And when you calculate, it's like we are losing just from this recent discovery. This is just one part. We are losing 1 trillion every month. So in a year, we are losing 12 trillion. So imagine the amount we are losing, and imagine the monies that we are borrowing, putting the country in a disadvantaged position. And I think it is the issue of being deliberate on certain things. You see, just for recent, they are talking about, the Minister of Finance is telling us that they are going to sell some government facilities, and then they will allow some for private sector to run them. And I asked myself, before now, this government should have known what exactly she's here to do. Okay, first regime, that's 4 years. This is the second regime that is almost going. They have less than 7 months to go. If you sell assets now, whatever you want to do now, what if the same government didn't continue? So what happened to the next government? So are you putting Nigeria first, or you are putting your party first? Because this is how I look at my own from my own angle. Because if you are looking at Nigeria first, then you should put it in your mind that whoever comes is the same Nigeria, whether it's your party or none. And in this issue of governance, you are expecting that wherever you find something that is working, you should build on. Not when you come because it's not your party and then you do away with it. That means we are talking about continuity. If you look at it very well, Joyce, there's no continuity. There's no continuity in government. When you talk about Nigeria, there's no continuity, because every government that comes is thinking of bringing a new policy, doing her own thing, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, whether the previous government spend whatever money they spend to embark on the project. They don't care, because as far as they're concerned, it's not their money. The money is not coming from their pocket, and then they can still generate another money to start another thing that they know they can't sustain it. I think going by that, it will really, really put this country in a disadvantaged position. And you see what is happening. Like you said, our education system is collapsing. Like almost everything is going down the drain. And then you hear this kind of amount, somebody is telling you these are the amounts. I think it's not too late. even if you are once part of it, you should wake up, because Nigerians now are calling. We want to get things right. Wherever we get it wrong, if you are part of it, just come and say you are sorry. This thing went this way because of this, but this time around, let us get it right. Because several times we have several committees proving this and that, investigating this and that, and then up to now,
So,
no one goes to jail.
The sad reality of this first subsidy issue is the fact that if we continue on this ground, it means the time is coming that we will not even be able to pay salaries. If we're spending 1.43 trillion naira in a year on first subsidy, it means a time will come that we will be unable to pay salaries. And I recall that during the Card Invest event in Kaduna, the former CBN governor, Sanusi, and former emir of Kano, was talking about the fact that next governments, if they come into power, they will have a lot of issues to deal with. Like, he's not even envying them because of the fact that the debt service and then the fuel subsidy issue. If you remove it, Nigerians are going to protest. And if you don't, it's going to be at the detriment of other sectors of the economy. So how they are going to even handle the situation, he pities the next government. And I say, if we continue to spend this amount of money, like, without even really accounting, I was asking myself, if within 1 year we're spending 1.43 trillion naira, are we drinking it? Like, are we drinking the well? Is it that we have more cars? Is it that, like, so many questions to ask? I think the corruption is the bane in this place. If we're not being transparent about this thing, then Nigerians will continue to suffer for this. And I think that's why it is so important that we elect leaders that have conscience, leaders that love Nigeria as a country, and leaders that are patriotic. Because if we continue to elect leaders on the basis of tribalism, nepotism, then this will keep going on the same circle. People will just go for their selfish interests, embezzle, and then go back. So in 2021, NNPC told us that they spent 100 billion naira on rehabilitation of refinery in Kaduna, Warri, and then Lagos. And then in 2022, they spent 5.66 billion naira. Nobody's asking question. Do you know that these refineries we're talking about have not produced 1 barrel of oil, and yet nobody is asking question, nobody is resigning? Last weekend we saw how the Prime Minister of UK resigned because she said she was unable to meet expectations. Just 45 days in office, she resigned. How many times have you heard that the public office holder in this country resigned because he felt he was unable? Even if you recall them, even when you call them names, you call them that they're not doing anything, these people will still not resign. Things are even falling under your ministry or the agency you're heading. Nobody is saying anything, and nobody, it is our own criminal. Like, the criminal become the ambassador of the people. People no longer care. As far as the person is from my place, he's good to go. We need to rise up to our responsibilities as leaders, as political leaders. Let the people, let humanity be what our driving force. It shouldn't be about some selfish interest. Like, if we don't remember anything, let's know that there's the judgment day. Like, a day is coming that you will stand before the judgment throne and answer question. You are being elected as a representative. What are you doing? Are you there to just stand, or you're just there to sleep, or you're there to represent yourself and your clan? People need to wake up to their responsibility.
I seriously agree with you, Joyce. And last week we hear about this government, relieving the NNDC boss, on some reasons based known to them. And then, what's your take on that?
Well, like I said earlier, one of the fight of this government, like what they promise, is to fight corruption. Like, the anti-corruption war is one thing that he talked about. And then we saw how that the NDDC boss was relieved of his duty. Not just him, even about 2,000 custom officers were also relieved of their duty because on corrupt basis. Well, if that is true, based on what they have said, then I think it is applaudable. Because you cannot be in a position to uphold justice and fairness, and then you go there and be servicing your own pocket. It is not about you. Some of this money are meant for the development of the society or the community. These people that you're representing, like let's talk about the Niger Delta region. These people have suffered. Their lands, their waters, their farmlands have been affected by this oil production and the rest. And if money is being allocated for the development of that region, I think it should be used for that, not some personal interest. So if, like it was said, was on the basis of mismanagement of fund, and if that is so, I think it's applaudable.
Well, now Abuja residents are really living in fear because of the recent report, which the U.S. Embassy released, that people should be careful around that area. In short, we are talking about insecurity general in Nigeria, and then this time around, they are narrowing everything to Abuja. And I asked this question. I say, all of this, this that is happening, so it is when it's close to Abuja, or when it's right there in Abuja, that is when they are raising the alarm. Because this thing has been happening in Maiduguri, happening in other places, Zamfara, name them. There was no this alarm until Abuja. So I begin to compare. Is it that Abuja is another part of Nigeria that is more important or something? I don't know. This is just my view.
Well, you know that this report is not from, well, I say within, but it's from the United States Embassy. And of course, we know that they have their embassy based in Abuja as well as other countries. And sometimes reports like that is what Nigerians that are looking forward to, that our security personnel will be up and about, so that if there's any threat, people can be alerted and then they will be able to avert the situation. But obviously, there was no alert from our own security, even though even the IG came out to say that he's not aware of that because of the distant, but of the alert. But then the U.S. Embassy have come out to warn its own staff and of that terror attack, and they've also told them to be careful with their movements and also avoid crowded areas. And he went ahead to mention some of the targets, including government building, places of worship, transport terminal. They talk about schools, markets, restaurants. They talk about law enforcement facilities. They spoke about athletic gatherings, shopping malls, hotel, as well as international organizations. These are some of the targets of this terror. And then, this is coming after the Kuje attack, prison attack, and then that after that some terrorists actually escaped, and this has actually generated the fear, because if these people were able to escape from the prison, nobody knows. Recall that even the call to bar that was supposed to take place in Buhari was moved because of the security situation. Before now, Sambo Solomon, we used to talk about the fact that if we don't wake up to our responsibility, this insecurity that is taking place in Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, it will get to the Nigerian capital, which is Abuja. And today, you will see members, senators, representatives that are not even staying in their constituency. They are all having houses in Abuja and they are living there. And you begin to wonder how they are even knowing the problems and challenges of their constituencies. They are all based in Abuja. And today we are seeing that Abuja too is on the list of terror attack. And with this warning, some schools have gone ahead to close, and then they gave the option of online classes. We saw that even the British Commission too have acted on that. UK, the same thing, saying that they are not going to attend to any issue unless a serious one. But above everything, I know that the DSS also came out to tell us that Nigerians should be calm about the situation, because everybody is expressing fear. If the Nigerian capital, talking of Abuja, is on the risks of attack by terror group, then where is the safe zone? So now people are encouraged. The DSS have come out to say people should be calm. They are going to ensure safety, not just in Abuja, but in other parts of the country. But I say this is not the first time that that we are getting even this terrorist group will tell you that they will attack you, and then they will still come. So I think we should be security conscious, not just allowing it to the securities alone, but everybody should be security conscious. Like ensure that you're well guided in terms of movement, not just Abuja, but other parts of the country. We should be well guided where you go to, avoid crowded area. Just ensure that you watch where you go to and people you mingle mingle with as well.
Yeah. This is a wake up call, particularly to some other places that they think maybe they are really safe. I think it is very important for us to be security conscious wherever we go, whatever you do. Make sure you watch out for things that are abnormal, because the truth of the whole matter is that even these terrorists, sometimes they do something to distract attention, and then maybe Abuja is not even the target, but they just want to just create this panic, and then before you know it, when the concentration is in Abuja, they strike a different state. So I think this is a call to all Nigerians, wherever you are, just be security conscious, because it is very, very key. It is very important. And Joyce, now that campaigns are going on, people are flagging on campaign, people are being given flag, a left, right, center across the country, vying for different offices. Now, there'll be this gatherings here and there, and then it could just be a soft target that somebody can just go and do something there. And you see, even the politicians are not even helping matters, because you find out that when PDP are having rally, you find out hooligans are attacking them. So sometimes you'll be confused whether is your opponent that is doing that, or is part of the strategy of even the terrorists. You never can tell. But we feel it is very key, like you said, everybody should wake up to his responsibility. It is good for our security agencies to know that every government, her responsibility is to secure her citizens. And this is the time now they will show. Because when you look at it, sometimes you see security agencies telling you that you should you should just go on with your normal business. And then you believe them. And once you are out, you hear the story of a strike here and then attack here. And then you start wondering. It becomes a normal thing that you hear whenever there is attack. We are on top of the situation. People should go about their normal businesses. We don't want to hear that. We want the security agencies to be proactive. And with informations like this, they shouldn't take it lightly, because these terrorists, they really mean business. And they have proven it to this country that they mean business. So it's for the security agencies to show them that they have the firepower too, they have the intelligence, that they can deal with them. Joyce, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
It's my pleasure, and I urge Nigerians out there that as we look forward to 2023, when people come to you, ensure you ask for their scorecard, what they hope to do in the education sector, the health, agriculture, electricity, amongst many others. And if we do that, we'll look out for somebody that will reduce the cost of governance, somebody that has Nigeria at heart, and I'm sure that we'll have a great nation.
Sure, Joyce. Yeah. Looking at the politicians' core.